Hello, my juicy co-creators. Lena here in Seattle with Dr. Carl Calleman. Oh my goodness. We meet finally in person from virtual reality to now being
That's
in
right.
each other's presence. It's
There
awesome.
is a difference.
I know you're a very, very busy man, especially right now as we're getting closer to the end of the Maya calendar and the shift is happening. So thank you so much for taking the time. These are important conversations I feel to have right now. So you're definitely the expert on the Maya calendar. You've been studying it for a very long time and had some insights that nobody really had before. It created a shift for many people. In many of the interviews on the Juicy Living Tour, your name is mentioned. I really appreciate your work. Where do we start this conversation from? Because there's so much to talk about, especially right now. And I think there's some confusions as to the 21st of December 2012 versus the 28th of October 2011. What are really those two dates? Can you help us?
Well, in my view, the December 21, 2012 date is just a fluke. It has no meaning whatsoever. But it's been easy to sell because people think in terms of European astrology. So the whole idea of selling the midwinter solstice has appealed to people and to Hollywood and to History Channel and so forth. But if you come from the Mayan calendar, then you know that what's important about the calendar is actually the energies that rule these. And energetically, the end date must be a date that is 13 Ahau. And you have to go into the Mayan calendar a little bit in order to understand that. And that immediately disqualifies the December 21, 2012 date, which I think is just has no meaning whatsoever. And it points to, especially now when we are so strongly experiencing the frequency increase that have come with this ninth wave that started with the earthquake in Japan, and just an amazing amount of things that are turning our world upside down. I think it's no question that it is October 28, 2011, and it's only October 28, 2011. Some people may dispute this, but I think mostly that is because they haven't studied the Mayan calendar, or because for ego reasons they bought into this other date at an early point without thinking deeply about it, and then they feel, oh, I can't admit that I was wrong. But I think now things have changed among people. People go more for the fact that they feel this frequency increase that has been happening now for a couple of months. And so that's really what's important. And it is important. This is not a hair-splitting issue, that's not important. It is really important in how people relate to these events, and if they want to understand them from some kind of a higher perspective. And there's something else that I like to say that in this regard is that there is a difference in the whole philosophy that is associated with these two dates. Mm-hmm. The October 28 date is based on the idea that we're living in a universe that evolves according to the guidance by the divine. Mm-hmm. The December 21 idea is based on simply a mechanical process in the skies, basically, which is the precession of
Sorry about the plane, guys, but there's a lot of planes flying in and out, so sorry for
small little planes.
Interrupting, but
they're going up to these San Juan Islands up here. The December 21 date is merely based on a mechanical cycle, the precession of the equinoxes. And so people, that means it's disconnected to a large body of prophecies that have been produced over the ages that are saying that this is it's sort of the coming of age of humanity from the perspective of a divine plan. So that is not part of the December 21 agenda, if I put it that. But it certainly is the way to look at it when it comes to this October 28, 2011. There is an intelligence in the universe at play, and we're all part of that. But and we're also like subordinated to it very much. We didn't start this frequency increase. We're acting in it.
So is our relationship to the universe now changing? Is our co-creation abilities, as our frequencies are increasing, how are we transforming? What's really happening on a really physical level, even?
Well, I think there are different ways of approaching it. You can look at it from the perspective of the external world, events going on there, and we've then seen this amazing amount of not only the earthquake in Japan, the nuclear crisis there, a couple of wars, new wars, the revolutions in the Arab world, the almost, revolutions going on in Europe is coming with a completely new meaning compared to what was the case previously. And so I could talk about that, how they relate to the Mayan calendar in detail and so forth. But that's the external part. But the external part, you might say, it's coming because of ultimately, because of a change in the human beings. We don't see that because what is affected is the filter through which we perceive reality. And this is not something we could ever see. But we can infer that it is happening a shift towards what I would call unity consciousness. And that has a lot of consequences in people and how they experience their own lives. And at least people that I know and interact with have been very strongly affected by this new wave, and in all kinds of ways. And very often in a kind of disturbing way, in a way where, the people break their arms. I've been suffering from a number of mishaps when I've been doing recordings or broadcasts and stuff like that. You've even heard that. It makes it even worse. And so these are, it's just tells us that, it's time to reconsider our directions. This is not just the old world. And it's not, it's... I lost my train of thoughts there. But one of the things that are happening is that people are increasingly declutching themselves from the past. That people are starting to have various kind of physical experiences, bodily symptoms that they cannot connect to any event. And this is really what you would expect if time is coming to an end. That's the whole meaning of it. It's not really time coming to an end, but the kind of linear directed time that we've been living through for such a long time.
So you would say that all of a sudden something happens, we nearly cannot really know why it's happening right now or where it's coming from, but it is happening. But it seems also that we can quickly overcome it as well.
We can do that. Oh, absolutely. Because of the very high frequency on this wave, we are compelled to change whatever it is we need to do, and things can be organized that otherwise would have taken months or years, and it just happens. If it's the right thing now, there's no time needed for it. That's something that is starting to happen.
So what is this wave that we're in, and what is coming leading to the 28th of October?
Well, there are 9 waves, and they each have a frequency. In other words, a wave is, it's like simple physics in a sense, that any wave has a certain period and a frequency of change. And so there are 9 waves, and each wave is 20 times, has a 20 times higher frequency than the one that it emanates from, or that it builds on, so to speak. So it's the Mayan calendar is a build-up of 9 levels of consciousness that is metaphorically described by their pyramids. Now we've come to the highest of these waves, the 9th wave, and in that you might say the peaks and the valleys have a duration which is as short as 18 regular days, and which is 20 times shorter compared to the previous wave that we call the 8th wave, or the galactic underworld. And but it's not only this wave that is coming to an end on October 28, 2011. All of them are simultaneously coming to an end, and so it means that the others are still, the other waves are still acting upon us, and ultimately it's what will be needed is an integration of all of these wave forms. What I find, the people that are dealing the best with the frequency increase of this wave, because often it has been disturbing, but there are some people that have come back to me saying that they call in the wave. They ask for it, so say, I don't know, come and grab me, or they and
or I want to be part of it.
I want to be part of it. I want to surf on this wave. Let me surf on this wave. And they describe they're very happy about what is happening now, and whereas many people, and to some extent myself, have felt like it's a little bit outside of me, acting upon me, and then these mishaps happen and disturbances of different types. But I think that's, to call in the wave, ask for it to come, is really a very good thing to do.
So this is just going to continue all the way to the 28th of October, or is it increasing, or is it changing? How is it evolving over time as those cycles, those mini cycles within this wave are happening?
It's a wave, and but every time there's a new peak coming in, which is really the unity consciousness energy, which comes with the peaks essentially. Every time it's sort of added to what was previously there. So in the second half of this wave, which is after July 3rd, then we will see that we will experience it as if the waves become, the ups and the downs become even more strong than it already has been. So it sort of adds, it becomes more and more clearly manifest, so to speak. I feel the divine plan is done in such a way so that we can adapt stepwise to peak by peak, if you like, to the incoming shift in consciousness.
Is there such a thing as our civilization coming to an end, or a new beginning, as some others have in the past, like transforming in light beings? There's some civilization that really took off in a very special way, or maybe we're then transported to a different galaxy. Is there really such a thing as a new Earth emerging from all this?
Well, the word civilization, it comes from civitas in Latin, meaning city, basically. And I think civilization comes to an end in the sense that city-based life, which this is, will come to be phased out. It's not that I'm saying that October 28, 2011, all the cities will be wiped out or something like that. But at that date, the field will be established on the planet that will change the world. My view is that it will go in the direction of a world of connected, exciting villages rather than big cities. And it's an important part because, you know, cities in the way they have emerged in history is basically by exploiting the countryside. And it's an expression of the whole dominance of this one of these waves, which is the sixth wave, the national underworld, as I also call it. And so I see that happening. I don't. You know, it's not. I don't have no arguments either for or against that we would move out into space or something like that. But there is. I don't see it happening from my perspective of the Mayan calendar. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm. So, what is a lot of people are actually. There's a lot of marketing happening around 2012.
Yes.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of teachers. There's a lot of trips being organized.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious and kind of crazy in a way.
Yeah.
It's part of it is the work, is the way that the American society works. I think.
Yeah.
That people get interested. It attracts a lot of business-oriented people or business-minded people, and that detracts from the quality of much of what is being said.
So the focus is really in our everyday life, in connecting with others and reconnecting with natures and opening our heart and opening up to the wave.
The focus of the wave, you know, we'll have to go to properly. Only the designer of the wave, which, you know, I would call God, knows what it's about, and fully. I think it is about transforming the world into a world based on unity consciousness. And what that means is that it's a world where all forms of dominance have disappeared, not only in human society, but also, for instance, between man and nature. And the case of city to countryside is another, just a part of it. And so that is what I see, and it's. I don't believe that on this particular end date of the calendar that everything will just fall into place or something like that. But I do believe that the cosmic field is then established, and then the direction is clear, and the people will start to reorganize their world, and based on the reorganization that they made in their relationship to themselves, to other, and to God. So
it's time for clearing.
Yes.
It's time for cleaning up. I hear a lot of people say about being authentic and true.
Yeah.
To ourselves.
Yes.
With others.
Yes.
Clean up our act.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are being said, but truly this feels like an opportunity. A lot of people are questioning also, where should I be on that day?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that invite me to be there or this or there, and on my own part, it's I think there will be such a turmoil in the time until then that's outside of my ability to decide, so to speak. And it's also that it's not a date. I've never said that, and I don't think any serious student of the Mayan calendar would say that. It's a process. The Mayan calendar is always about processes, and now we are in the process of the ninth wave primarily influencing us, and that wave will come to a completion, and maybe we could think about where we want to be, but
do you envision natural catastrophe? Is that part of? A lot of people say also that there's too much population. There is
that is obvious, and it's almost impossible to see the planet having the population of the planet is scheduled to become 7 billion almost exactly on October 28, 2011. But it's, I think it's just impossible to envision that that's a viable number of people. That's not, I think that's not what this planet is made for, so to speak.
Are you preparing new projects? Are you working on some things that are exciting in the future? Some things that you're looking at that are really intriguing you?
Yeah. Well, there's a number of things. I'm trying to write a new book, which is only about the ninth wave. I say I'm trying because it's not the way it used to be, that I could maybe find a year or so to write a book. There's no chance here. Not only that it would be obsolete by that time, but it's also difficult to find the time. So that's one thing. Another thing that I'm working on and really want to let people know about is this event, which will be at the midpoint on the whole ninth wave, July 3rd. Which is the so-called Jerusalem Hug. Have you heard about this?
No.
Oh, okay. So
bring it on.
Well, it's an event it's taken place a couple of times before, and partially based on the Mayan calendar dates. Now we're having it, and it's the way it's been is that a couple of thousand people coming from wherever are encircling, holding hands, the old city of Jerusalem, pouring their love into this city. And it's all, ultimately, I think you might say, it's about trying to create the miracles that, and some miracles have really happened in loosening up the divisions that characterize this city. Which is really like the Berlin of the religions, if you like. And so it's always been there too, with different kind of ceremonies. I shouldn't say always been there. It has happened a couple of times before, ever since we had the breakthrough celebration in May of 2007. But now I'm trying to encourage people, or I'm encouraging people to be part of this also as at a distance, in order to, create like global medicine wheels, like circles, if nothing else mentally, but through modern internet technology on the 3rd of July, that would create outer sort of backup circles for people that still have the same feeling about seeing the importance of creating oneness and freedom for everyone in this particular city, and the acceptance of everyone to worship whatever religion they have in that particular city. And this is, the Bible talks about the new world after the end time, so to speak, as the new Jerusalem. And not that I think that it's only in Jerusalem, but I look upon that as a metaphor for the new consciousness, the unity consciousness, and that if there is peace in Jerusalem, there is also peace in the rest of the world. If there is peace in the rest of the world, there is also peace in Jerusalem. And so even if I'm not saying that there will be peace overnight anywhere, but I do see this as a very important thing, and I do encourage people to become part of it also at a big distance.
Yeah, because this is really, it feels like it's really a time for us as individuals to be the leaders. It's not anymore, the science or the politicians or or them, but it's us. It's really us getting together, as happened in Egypt, across Facebook, or this in Jerusalem, that we are the one that are going to make this shift.
Because the others have tried, and you can't deal yourself to a peace like that. It really has to come from the heart, and it's also the idea that what happens in one part of the world is really the concern of the rest of the world as well. Mm-hmm. It's not just their problem, so to speak. It's really our problem, and if you want to call it a problem, but it's. Yes, that's so much what is happening now. That what you're saying, that it's the whole dominance going away, and meaning leadership going away, and there's a lot to say about that. There is a risk, of course, that people say, I don't want to be a leader. But I think I had a discussion with James Redfield not long ago, and he said something that I thought was very important. He pointed out that who says that you have to be a leader all the time? Mm-hmm. You don't have to stop yourself from taking initiatives and that people. But the whole idea is that I'm always the leader. That is where it goes a little bit wrong, I think. That it's not an identity, but it's taking initiatives, and you shouldn't stop yourself from taking initiatives, but you shouldn't go into any kind of a identity trap of that.
Because leadership is really an energy too.
Yeah,
it is more than anything else, isn't it?
Yeah. And
which then helps other people to become leaders in their own life. So really the word leader becomes obsolete, and it needs a new word.
Yeah, yes.
Because we're really co-creating. That's ultimately what's really happening.
Yes. We're starting to need new words. That's a good point. And it becomes, another example of this is the word democracy. Mm-hmm. Because what we've seen now in North Africa, but also in Spain especially.
Hello, little plane! In Spain, yeah.
In Spain especially, and I'm sure it's coming in other different European countries as Greece and Portugal and so forth also, is that they are not content with giving their power away every 4 years, or electing. Spain is technically speaking a democracy, as is United States, meaning that every 4 years or 7 years or whatever, you choose who you will give your power away to, and this is going out. The people that have been protesting in Spain, I've read one interview there. The guy was called Mario, I think, but he declined to say his last name. Not that he was afraid of repercussions or anything like that, but simply because he said the last thing we want is some new leader. They're opposing the whole idea of having a class of people being, ruling their country, even if it's technically speaking democracy. So what is coming with this ninth wave and its transcendence of dominance is something much deeper. You could call it true democracy, or it's something that it's not covered by just saying the democratic institutions, because that is becoming obsolete. People want something deeper, where they actually are participating and are not giving their power away to somebody else.
It feels more like a liberation of some sort.
Yes.
Liberating all this energy and freedom, real freedom.
Real freedom, not freedom as a big word, fanfares. No, real freedom. That's what's coming.
Amazing. Is there something else that you would like us to know?
Well, I've had a lot of attention recently on the comets that are coming. And I do think what is interesting then is that it's not just one comet. Most people have heard about the Elenin comet, but there is also the Honda comet that is coming in August already. And there is even one coming slightly after called the Levy comet. But it's interesting because they're coming now as the Mayan calendar is coming to an end. And there's all kinds of speculations around them, and if you look at the official astronomical sites, these are very small comets, and they are not going to be close to the Earth and so forth. But I feel, I'm not, what shall I say? I don't think I'm not on firm scientific ground when I'm saying this, but I do feel that here, at the very least, these comets are part of the more cosmic consciousness that will be developed by the second half of the ninth wave. So the second half starts July 3rd. When the Jerusalem Hag is, and then it goes all the way to October 28th. So at the very least, people will have a lot of attention on them, and they are part. And I tend to think that somehow they will be interacting with us. There will be some meaning of ancient prophecies talking about a couple of comets in the end times. And so I'm just right now writing an article about this particular topic. And I think they will come to play a big role somehow. And I think they will explain some old prophecies that we have not previously been able to make sense of. I think there will be something spectacular and maybe frightening to some going on in the space around the planet.
How about solar flares or?
No, I don't really. I have never taken an interest in that.
Okay. Okay. Well, this is quite something what is happening. This is really something, and I'm so grateful for this conversation and be able to share this. And we will do it in French now.
Okay.
This is exciting.
Okay.
Thank you, Carl Calleman. Thank you. Much love, my beautiful co-creators from Seattle. Sorry for the planes, but this is life. This is part of it.
That's part.
Hello, my juicy co-creators. Lila here in Seattle with Dr. Carl Calleman. Oh my goodness. We meet finally in person from virtual reality to now being in each other's presence. It's awesome.
There is a difference.
I know you're a very, very busy man, especially right now as we're getting closer to the end of the Maya calendar and a shift is happening. So thank you so much for taking the time. These are important conversations I feel to have right now. So you're definitely the expert on the Maya calendar. You've been studying it for a very long time and had some insights that nobody really had before. It created a shift for many, many people. In many of the interviews on the Juicy Living Tour, your name is mentioned. I really, really appreciate your work. Where do we start this conversation from? Because there's so much to talk about, especially right now. And I think there's some confusions as to the 21st of December 2012 versus the 28th of October 2011. What are really those two dates? Can you help us?
Well, in my view, the December 21, 2012 date is just a fluke. It has no meaning whatsoever. But it's been easy to sell because people think in terms of European astrology. So the whole idea of selling the midwinter solstice has appealed to people and to Hollywood and to History Channel and so forth. But if you come from the Mayan calendar, then you know that what's important about the calendar is actually the energies that rule these. And so, and energetically, the end date must be a date that is 13 Ahau. And you have to go into the Mayan calendar a little bit in order to understand that. And that immediately disqualifies the December 21, 2012 date, which I think is just has no meaning whatsoever. And it points to, especially now when we are so strongly experiencing the frequency increase that have come with this ninth wave that started with the earthquake in Japan, and just an amazing amount of things that are turning our world upside down. I think it's no question that it is October 28, 2011, and it's only October 28, 2011. Some people may dispute this, but I think mostly that is because they haven't studied the Mayan calendar, or because for ego reasons they bought into this other date at an early point without thinking deeply about it, and then they feel, oh, I can't admit that I was wrong. But I think now things have changed among people. People go more for the fact that they feel this frequency increase that has been happening now for a couple of months. And so that's really what's important. And it is important. This is not a hair-splitting issue, that's not important. It is really important in how people relate to these events, and if they want to understand them from some kind of a higher perspective. And there's something else that I'd like to say that in this regard is that there is a difference in the whole philosophy that is associated with these two dates. Mm-hmm. The October 28 date is based on the idea that we're living in a universe that evolves according to the guidance by the divine. Mm-hmm. The December 21 idea is based on simply a mechanical process in the skies, basically, which is the precession of
Sorry about the plane, guys, but there's a lot of planes flying in and out, so sorry for
small little planes.
Interrupting.
They're going up to these San Juan Islands up here. The December 21 date is merely based on a mechanical cycle, the precession of the equinoxes. And so people, that means it's disconnected to a large body of prophecies that have been produced over the ages that are saying that this is it's sort of the coming of age of humanity from the perspective of a divine plan. So that is not part of the December 21 agenda.